What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back, and it's week 16 already. A few weeks left to go in the regular season for college basketball, and we're doing our picks still. Ty, you are absolutely destroying me here.
Good
But I
loss,
did,
though.
I did beat you last week, so I'm coming. I'm only 19 down. March Madness, you never know what can happen there. I think I'll start it off here. Taking Providence in the dunk at home. I really thought that they could pull it out and prove that they are really that best team, but they did play well. And give them credit. They did hang with Villanova, and I think a lot of people weren't really expecting that, even though that they have had an easier Big East schedule because they haven't played Villanova yet. But definitely looking forward to that rematch on March 1st, and that will probably decide the conference.
Yeah, just looking at this, there were a lot of really close games. Almost all of these games came down to one or two possessions. Tough week for me. Obviously, as a Michigan fan, got to address quickly the Jawan thing. We both are big Michigan fans. Really dumb on his part what he did. I do think the Wisconsin assistant Joe Krabenhoff deserved some type of suspension, fine, something, but it was the right suspension for Jawan, and he's got to learn from that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, 5 games though could be a little bit of an over exaggeration, but
Yeah.
I think just because it is the end of the regular season, they're just like, well, we'll just be done for your regular season to come back for the Big Ten play, and that's right when they need him, obviously, to pick up some key wins. Because I think right now they would be playing. I think it was Rutgers, and then if they win that, I think it's Michigan State or
Yeah.
Wisconsin again. So definitely a very favorable first 2 game matchups if they can win both of those, get them some more wins on the resume, and put them in the tournament. But right now they are obviously one of the last teams in, and we're gonna have to see going forward. Moving to last night's game, we will start here with our picks. We both took Ohio State here, and they both squeaked one, and they squeaked one out here. In overtime, 11 points is the final score, but really it was a lot closer than that. Ty, you want to talk about Indiana as usual?
Oh man. Well, I was looking dumb for a while. I said early in the year I put them really low in the Big Ten rankings. I was like, they're always hyped up, and then they never perform to their expectations. Now they're doing it again. They're sliding, and I'm not confident they're even going to make the tournament. They're below Michigan. I think they're like the second to last team in. It happens every year now. Teams figure out Trace Jackson Davis, and then Indiana can't shoot and they can't score, and it's happening again. So they got to find some wins coming up.
Yeah, they are right below Michigan on those last teams in. But in the Big Ten, it's always if you lose 1 or 2 games, you're just out like that. So definitely kind of in panic mode for Indiana. And then tonight we got a game that means a lot, not just in the Big Ten standings, but for resumes as well. We have Iowa, kind of sit in the middle of the pack along with Michigan State now after their 0-2 week. And I think both of these teams really need that, kind of big win to motivate them to go into the Big Ten tournament. And I think this is the win that Iowa needs and gets here. At home, I would say, they win by a few points, should be a great game. But the inconsistency of Michigan State as of late is what led me to this Iowa pick. And yes, we just saw Michigan beat Iowa. Don't think that's a fluke because really there's just any team in the Big Ten can beat anybody, as we've seen Rutgers just absolutely go on a tear. Really, this game is just a coin flip, but I'm going with Iowa because they're at home.
Yeah, Iowa actually played really sound defense against Ohio State, which they haven't really done this year. We know they can score, but if they can defend like that, Michigan State struggles to score as of late. So I'm going to go with Iowa. And, I just think they're the slightly better team right now, and they're playing at home. So got to go with them. They have the best player on the court.
And at 8 o'clock here, we got Villanova and UConn in our first disagreement as well. I'm going with UConn here. I think they will pull off the upset and give Villanova their 7th loss, which is kind of crazy to think about. Dating back to the beginning of the year where they were playing all those ranked teams. But now it's a new calendar year, different Villanova team playing a lot better than that record shows. But I just think this is one that they can go in and slip up on, as this is their toughest game left on the schedule before that Providence game.
Yeah, Villanova just goes on the road in the Big East, and a lot of times they just make it look like it's nothing. It's a huge game for UConn, but Villanova's just kind of on a tear right now, coming off the Providence win, and I think they keep it going. I think they can go in there and win.
And moving over to Wednesday, we have Duke in Virginia. And the only reason I think I'm putting this on here is because of the revenge game. I think we are both going with Duke here because, they want to get back at Virginia after beating them on the last second shot in their own stadium. And I think Duke right now, they're rallying. It's Big E or ACC time. Talking about the tournament, they're looking to close on the ACC regular season title as well. They win out, it's theirs. And I think they have a really good shot at doing that as they have a very favorable schedule remaining. Give Virginia some credit here. If they can beat them twice, they instantly get thought of as a tournament team because it's hard to beat Duke once, but twice in the same year is a very good accomplishment. But I still got to roll with Duke here.
Yeah, I'd say Virginia wins this game. They are in, but it's tough to sweep Duke the way they play. And I just think Coach K is going to make sure he motivates his team for this. You don't get swept by a team who's not even ranked if you're Duke. So I think they can go in there and get the win. They'll still remember that last second shot Virginia hit on them. So I think Duke wins a close game.
And also at 7 o'clock on Wednesday, Providence and Xavier. And, I'm always still high on the Friars, but this Xavier team, we just need to talk about them for a quick second here. The month of February has been absolutely terrible for them. They were ranked in the top 20 at the beginning of the month. Now they aren't even receiving votes anymore. It's been a huge drop off. And, we were talking in our rankings videos that this was a fraud team, and we are starting to see that now. And they don't have an easy schedule at all in the Big East coming up. And here they have going on the road to the Dunk in Providence, and I think that's why Providence is going to win here.
Yeah, I agree. I think Providence is just playing much better despite that loss. Xavier really struggling right now, and Providence is at home. It's a tough place to play, but obviously it'll be a close game because it's Providence, so I'm sure it'll come down to the wire. Just because all their games do, but Providence knows how to pull those off, so they'll do it again.
And at 9 o'clock, after you watch both of those games, you got a game that nobody's probably going to talk about, but means a lot here, especially for those Mountain West teams. You got Wyoming and Colorado State, two teams that are sitting along the 9, 10, 11 range for this year's tournament. And whoever wins this game will definitely get a boost to their resume for sure going into that tournament to move them up a little bit. I'm going with the Cowboys on the road. I don't know. I just think this Wyoming team has something special cooking for Mark, and they definitely are a team you would want to pick in upsets going forward. And I think this is going to be the game that gets that rally starting, and I'm going with Wyoming.
Yeah, this should be a good game to watch, honestly. I haven't really watched either of these teams all year. To be honest, they're hardly ever on TV. But this is two clear tournament teams going at it. I'm just going with the home team here. I'll be honest, I've never really watched either of these teams, so therefore I don't know much about them. They have the same amount of losses, both tournament teams, so I'm just going with the home team in Colorado State, but it should be a good game.
And moving over to Thursday night at 9 o'clock, we got a very underrated Big Ten matchup here. Ohio State struggled as of late. Illinois, keeps struggling as well. This is going to be a matchup with the big men, EJ Liddell, Kofi Cockburn, obviously those two big names, but it's all going to come down to guard play. Both of those are a huge question mark right now for both these teams. Illinois has Tim Frazier, and he's been pretty solid, but after that, if he gets into foul trouble or just having a bad game, they don't really have anyone to rely on. It should be Curbelo, but he's been struggling as well. And I don't know. I just don't like the matchup for Ohio State because of that and the guard play. If one of those two show up, Illinois should win this game.
Yeah, Kofi Cockburn. That's what I'm going to say for this one. Ohio State doesn't have a traditional center. So when you have a 300-pound center you're going up against, it's going to be tough for them to stop him at all. And if they do decide to double him, obviously Illinois has plenty of shooters around the perimeter. So I just, like you said, I don't like the matchup. And I think Illinois should take care of business at home, stay in first place.
Skipping Friday and moving to Saturday at noon, we got Purdue on the road against Michigan State. And I'm going with Purdue here. I know that the line is probably going to be a lot closer than people think because you're looking at those records there. But going into the Breslin is always a tough place to play. And, we've seen Purdue slip up a few times on the road. And this definitely could be one of those games. But I am still going to go with Purdue here because I think Jaden Ivey, no one can guard him on Michigan State. Maybe Max Christie, maybe. That's asking a lot from the freshman going up against the top 5 lottery pick. And not even mentioning their size down low. State really can't match up with that as well either. So I'm going with Purdue here.
I'm just going with the upset here, Michigan State. I obviously have them losing to Iowa. And I just don't think they're going to roll over on the season and just continue to fade into March. That's just not what Tom Izzo usually does. So I think eventually they're going to get a win and at least build a little bit of momentum. And I think this is the game for them. Purdue's been pretty inconsistent, as inconsistent as you can be for a top 4 team. But we saw them get destroyed by Michigan, who's a bubble team, and this could be another game where they struggle on the road. So I'm gonna go with Michigan State in an upset.
At 2 o'clock, we got Kentucky and Arkansas, a game at the beginning of the year that a lot of people anticipated. And, going into the year, this Arkansas team was right where they are, Kentucky about the same. And now they are finally both playing to their expectations, more so Arkansas. And because they've been on a roll lately, I'm going with Arkansas here at home. I know that just a week ago, you and me were thinking Kentucky's the best team in basketball. No doubt, number one, winning it all. But now it's kind of a different story after that Tennessee loss, which, kind of a lot of people saw coming. But how are they going to respond in this week? And I think it's going to be another 1-1 week for this Kentucky team. Arkansas just has a lot of momentum right now, and you don't want to face a team with a lot of momentum. End of February, early March, and that's where we are.
Yeah, I'm still pretty high on Kentucky right now. I know they had that loss last week, but Ty Washington obviously was hurt in the second half. So if he can be healthy for this game, I like their chances. Arkansas, obviously playing a lot better. I still think they're, a 5-6 seed team. I'm just not quite sold on them as the team they were last year. They're not quite to that level yet. So I'm going to go with Kentucky, even being on the road. I think they can go in and win this game.
At 4 o'clock, we have Auburn and Tennessee. And you see that question mark up there? I do not know what channel it's on. It is not posted yet. So there you go for that. But I am still going to go with Auburn here on the road in Tennessee. I think this will be a very close game. Could potentially see an overtime game as well. But at the end of the day, the size matters, and Walker Kessler will dominate. In overtime, and that's why I think Auburn's going to win this game.
Yeah, I'm going with the upset here. Tennessee has been like Rutgers at home this year, kind of similar. They just beat really good teams at home. They've already beat Arizona and Kentucky in their building. So Auburn struggling a little bit again, struggling as much as you can for a top 3 team, but coming off the Florida loss. And I think Tennessee playing at home, I think they can shut them down a little bit on defense and get the win. Auburn, obviously the better team, but Tennessee's been world beaters at home. I think it continues.
At 6 o'clock, we have Wisconsin and Rutgers. And if you were going to tell me last week that this game would have been on the schedule, I would have said you're crazy. But I just think there's lots of questions still surrounding that Wisconsin program, as we talked about, the situation earlier in the video. And moving forward, how are they going to respond? And I think this is the game you're going to tell. How are they going to respond? Because Rutgers, they've been pulling off some miraculous upsets. What was it? 4 in a row, AP wins. And then they played Purdue, where they could have made it 5, but unfortunately lost. And at home, Rutgers right now is on a tear. And I'm going with Rutgers here. And honestly, to my surprise, too, that you're going with them as well, as we are both taking the upset here.
Yeah, I mean, those 4 games, Rutgers at home, they look like the 93 Bulls. And obviously, when they go on the road, they look like sometimes, an incapable team. Luckily for them, this one's at home. So they usually take care of business at home. And Wisconsin, who knows how they're going to respond from the Juwan Howard thing. That wasn't just a Michigan thing. Wisconsin obviously has to deal with that too, with everything that happened. So going on the road again, I just think this is a tough matchup, and I think Rutgers gets another win for them. This will pretty much solidify their tournament resume.
And at 8 o'clock, potentially the best game of the week, and I believe College Game Day will be here in Baylor territory, and I'm liking Baylor here. A much-needed win if they want to win the Big East regular conference. They are 2 games back, I believe, right now. And obviously Kansas is in first place. So this is a game you must win if you want to win the regular season championship. And I think they're going to be able to do it, even without Chichachua. Did I say it right this time?
Close enough.
All right. Well, it's better than before. But even without him, I think Baylor, even though they struggled last night and pulled out a gutty overtime win, I think they will go and beat the number 6 team in the country in Kansas.
Yeah, I think if Baylor's going to win this, they got to make it an ugly game, kind of like we saw last night. Obviously, they're missing a big piece in their center. So, they just got to do it by defense. And Kansas has had some big scoring droughts this year, quite often actually. So I think Baylor can do that. They can make it a game in the 60s. And if they do that, they should be able to get the win they really need right now.
And at 10 o'clock, the game where Gonzaga may get upset. It's their really only shot at getting upset and losing for the rest of the regular season, at least. On the road at St. Mary's, it's not going to matter because Gonzaga has Drew Timme and Chet Holmgren, and I couldn't tell you one name on St. Mary's, and that's the problem. Gonzaga has been blowing people out just like every other year because their conference is so weak and they have all this talent, and they should win the regular season. They should win the tournament as well. And should be the number 1 overall seed. So, just keep winning, and that's what's going to happen. And I think that's going to happen.
Yeah, St. Mary's did a good job slowing down Gonzaga for a little bit when they played at Gonzaga, but they still lost by almost 20. The talent's just not there, unfortunately. You can't slow down Gonzaga for a full 40 minutes. So I think Gonzaga's going to be able to pull it off. I actually think San Francisco has the better chance this week to upset Gonzaga. I just don't see it happening in this game. Way too much talent for Gonzaga. And obviously, if they get through this week of road games, they should go undefeated into March.
And moving to Sunday at 12:30, a game, very underrated game, actually. And Houston and SMU. We saw SMU beat Houston at home, and now they're matching up, flipping the script here. And SMU, in our bracketology video, you will see they are the first team out right now. So a huge win on the road here could propel them to, past the first teams in and just to the buys. And I do see that happening, but for the safe pick, I am going with Houston. I will be rooting for SMU just because I like to see them upsets around this time of the year. We're starting to get in March Madness, so it's getting a little hectic in college basketball. I do think Houston has the revenge game. This is the revenge game here, and they do pull out the victory.
Yeah, Houston, obviously, you're starting to see the absence, I guess, of Marcus Sasser. They've been struggling a little bit in February, but I don't see them getting swept by SMU, especially with this one being at home. SMU needs the win. I think right now they're the first team out, according to Joe Lunardi, so big game for them. I think they will keep it within single digits, but Houston just has too much, and I think their rebounding will be the difference.
And our last game on this week's picks and previews, Illinois, Michigan. I'm going with Illinois because I'm 1-1 when a good team plays Michigan, and I'm trying for the reverse psychology here. So hopefully it pans out for me this week because obviously, we're Michigan fans, so you got to rep the blue. I think the thing that will matter is the size in Kofi Cockburn and Dickinson. It should be a great matchup. Dickinson has been struggling as of late in, some big time games. Last week we saw he did put up great numbers against Wisconsin. But other than that, the team was very inconsistent. And, they didn't have Dickinson. I'd say they lose probably by 30 points in that game just because terrible shooting. But then you got to think about Illinois here and how inconsistent they can be too. So this could be a very ugly game in low scoring, or it could be a very high scoring game where everyone shoots the lights out of the building. And I'm going to go with Illinois on the picks, but I will be cheering for Michigan, of course.
Yeah, don't sleep on Phil Martelli, coaching for Michigan now the rest of the regular season. 25-year coach at St. Joseph's, so he knows what he's doing. And I think this is a game where you'll see more jump shooting out of Hunter Dickinson, kind of pulling Kofi away from the basket. I think that's what he needs to do because I don't think they're going to double him much, obviously, with Kofi on him. So if he can do that, if he can hit a couple threes like he did against Purdue, I think Michigan can pull this one off. They're 0-4 against Illinois in the last 3 years, I think. So they really need to beat these guys. And this is the best time to do it when you're right on the bubble. And I think Michigan gets the home win in a close game.
And that's going to do it for our video today. If you liked our video, hit that like button, click the subscribe button as we're doing that giveaway. In 22 subscribers away, get us to 100, and we will be sending out information on how to win that as well. But until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.
She never called back.